With the first two Uncharted titles explored, we set our sights now on the third journey, on Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception, a far more globe-trotting adventure compared to the last two entries, taking our characters from London and France to Syria and the treacherous Rub al Khali Desert. But before we explore that story and its twists and turns, we first will look at the optional treasures as we've done before. I reiterate something I said in the previous video. I will not be including the strange relic in this video because the Jak and Daxter Easter egg is in every single one of the games. Also, I'll say it here and I will reiterate in a future video. I will not be doing a treasure video for Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. There are various reasons. A key one being that having looked up some of the items, determining the specific where and when they originated is very difficult given the sheer number of individual kingdoms and empires that governed India over its history. On a related note, the items on this video and the one for Uncharted 4 proved to be increasingly difficult to identify. Their names in-game are horribly generic, forcing me to depend on their appearance to find counterparts. And sometimes, that's just not possible, as any findings will be, well, inconclusive at best. That's why you'll notice that the no idea category for the upcoming videos is just gonna get bigger. But speaking of categories, it's time to jump to the classification I used for the items in Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. Aside from the aforementioned no idea, we have Akkadian, Victorian, Yemeni, Art Nouveau, and other, where those items are one-offs or just don't fit in any other category. Let's kick things off with Art Nouveau, one of the categories that gave me the first of my many migraines. It's just jewelry, but tracking down the specific items, or its direct counterparts, or even those with stylistic similarities, proved to be far more difficult than expected. Art Nouveau is an art style or movement that began in the late 19th century and lasted until about the outbreak of World War I, characterized by the use of organic shapes, curves, and motifs inspired by nature, and was meant to create a modern style that did not imitate other historical styles. Of these items, the highlight is the diamond-studded horse brooch, because it's a mirrored version of an item from around 1910, the Sloan & Company Gold and Diamond Horse Brooch. Now we move on to the category of Other. In this case, it's the most interesting one, because there's a lot of variety. And we'll kick things off with the silliest items I've seen in these games. We've seen ritual daggers, ancient weapons, spoons and tools from civilizations gone past. And here in Uncharted 3, we have the antique Colombian butter knife and soup ladle. Yeah, that's right, a freaking butter knife and a soup ladle. Increasing in rarity, we have coins. A 17th century Spanish gold coin, a doubloon, a crusader coin, minted in the territories in the Middle East controlled by Christian crusaders, in which was not only money, but also a symbol of that domination. Related to it is the Crusader fleur-de-lis, the French lily, representing both the church and the French nobility. There's the gold Axumite coin from the ancient kingdom of Axum, which encompassed East Africa to South Arabia from the 1st century to about the 10th. This is one of those items where the investigation leads me to realize just how many kingdoms, empires, and dynasties there have been across the world that we really don't hear or read about that much. There's the Louis d'Or coin, the Golden Louis, issued by King Louis XIII of France in 1640 and became the official currency of France until it was replaced by the French franc at the time of the French Revolution. There's the silver Sassanid coin from the Sasanian Empire, the last Persian Empire, which lasted until 651 when it fell to what is referred to as the early Muslim or Islamic conquest. And lastly is the King Bohemond III coin, which is similar to the Crusader coin, or from that time period. It's the currency of the Principality of Antioch, a Crusader state, specifically a coin minted during the reign of King Bohemond III. And in case you're wondering, there were 7 such Bohemonds. And you know, all this talk about Crusaders is making me think of Christianity. So the next item in the category is the Byzantine Reliquary Cross, which acts as both a cross and a box for holy relics. We spoke of the Chimu people in the video for the treasures of Uncharted: Drake's Fortune, them being the precursors to the Moche, the people who would eventually be absorbed by the Inca. Here we have another example of their metalwork, a silver pendant. And on a related note, we have the dog-shaped whistle, which is Inca. The gold scarab brooch is a very interesting one, because you may think, oh, that's Egyptian, but it's not. It's Egyptian revival, an architectural and art style from the late 18th century characterized by the use of Egyptian imagery and style. Remember the thing about Art Nouveau that they wanted to avoid imitating other art styles? This is the kind of thing they were trying to avoid. Then we got a few statues and figures. The shamanistic jaguar head is from a culture from Ecuador from about 300 BC. The ancient Chupicuaro figure from the people of what is now Guanajuato, Mexico, from around 500 BC. The marble double eye idol, Syrian in origin and pretty old, from around the 4th millennium BC. Traditional work from the ancient city of Tel Brak. And on a related Syrian note is the enamel copper vessel from around the 18th century. The statue of Gudea, an ancient Mesopotamian statue dating from around 2000 BC and representing Gudea, the ruler of the ancient city-state of Lagash. These statues were his stand-ins in temples, providing constant prayer in his stead. Each of the statues would have the name of the god they were intended to pray to inscribed on the back. Yeah, this is literally a case of I can't be asked to be in the temple all day. I'll send my statues in my stead. And we close off this with a golden Hittite statue, the Hittite being a Bronze Era people from what today is Turkey, and represents Arina, the sun goddess of their pantheon. We got 2 more items to go on the other category. The silver figa amulet, or the figa fist, or in Italy the manofico, a symbol of Roman origin representing fertility, sexuality, specifically female genitalia, and warding against the evil eye. It was used both as a good luck charm and a rude gesture. And lastly, the ancient game of one of the oldest strategy board games. Boards like this have been found that date all the way back to 2400 BC. For the Akkadian treasures, we have a single item, the Akkadian statue head. If you look closely at the image, there is a big hole on its left eye, which is damage that makes this piece easy to identify, as this head actually exists. It's a piece that represents Sargon the Great, aka Sargon of Akkad, who came to power around 2300 BC and was the first Mesopotamian ruler to unite ancient Sumer and other Mesopotamian territories under a single banner. There really isn't that much to say about the Victorian category. These, like the Art Nouveau category, are mostly just jewelry and knickknacks. But there are 2 related items that are worth talking about: the brass and seahorse Vesta cases. And what makes them interesting is the word Vesta. Vesta cases held Vesta matches, which are much like the matches we use today, except they were made from wax, and while their creation and patent precede the Victorian era, they were used throughout that time extensively. Now we come to the main category for Uncharted 3, items from Yemen and its related cultures. These items were the other group responsible for all of my migraines. These were difficult to place at times, given the poor descriptions and generic names. And as a first, we have subcategories, and we'll start with those. First is Sabaean, from the ancient kingdom of Sheba. Their items are all carvings and statues. Of them, 2 are likely religious imagery. The bronze Sabaean bull sculpture and the moon symbol are likely representations of Almaka, god of the moon, kingship and fertility of the land. The bull was associated with him. The Sabaean stele and carved face are both tomb dedications, meaning grave markers or offerings. The stele represents a mother holding a child. The second subcategory is Bedouin, a name that derives from an Arab word meaning desert dweller. The Bedouin are a nomadic tribe historically inhabiting Arabia's desert regions. They're also the inspiration for the Star Wars Tusken Raiders. Unfortunately, that fact alone is more interesting than the items found in the game, which are mostly just jewelry. They're beautiful pieces, but not what I would call really interesting. Now onto the main category of Yemen items. And again, most of it is jewelry, and you have no idea how hard it was to categorize items when the only thing you know is that they're made of amber and Amazonite. I didn't even know Amazonite was a thing before working on this. Of these items, there are 2 highlights. The silver and leather dagger, which is an example of a yambiya, a traditional Yemeni dagger. While this item has a leather scabbard, most examples of yambiya you find have intricate metal scabbards. The silver Yambia dagger, on the other hand, which is another treasure, does have a metal scabbard, but it doesn't do the intricate metalwork justice by being utterly bland. The other item, which is likely a miniature, is the Bronze Man of Nashkum, a real 6th to 5th century BC bronze statue found in the ancient Yemeni city of Nashkum, modern-day Al-Baida, and is now housed at the Louvre Museum of France. And we close this exploration off with the no idea whatsoever category. These items, by virtue of their name and appearance, were just impossible to put into any specific category with some degree of certainty. If anyone watching this can take a look at these items and tell me where and when they're from, I would very much appreciate it. The items are the ancient metal elephant, the antique cloak clasp, the antique silver parrot, the medieval lead horseman, the pearl and emerald brooch, the songbird brooch, and the unusual mask brooch. Seriously, with those names, how do you expect me to find anything? Throw me a bone, naughty dog! With all that said though, the brooches in this category kinda seem like they would fit Art Nouveau, but I couldn't find anything that even remotely looked like them, so I preferred to leave them under no idea. And with that, we finished this exploration of the treasures of Uncharted 3. And yes, it's a much shorter look, as there aren't many cultural, religious, or folklore items, and instead it's all just jewelry and daily items. But with this done, we can now move on to the journey Sir Francis Drake refused to complete and Lawrence of Arabia made sure to erase from his notes. A path that leads to the forgotten Atlantis of the Sands, Iram of the Pillars. Join me next time as we explore the events of Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception.